This is Paul Peluso from Officer Media Group, and I'm joined today by Loren Bolton with InVeris Training Solutions. Thanks for joining us today, Loren.
Thank you for having me.
So for over 30 years, InVeris has provided simulated training to the law enforcement community, beginning with FATS, the Firearms Training System. The screen-based training taught officers judgmental skills and marksmanship, and technology has continued to grow and evolve. Virtual reality has emerged as an incredibly powerful training tool to improve communication, de-escalation, use of force, officer safety, and protocol compliance. With its legacy in simulated training, InVeris recently launched the VRDT, a powerful virtual reality platform that encompasses all of these training practices. So, Loren, let's talk about this a little bit. What is virtual reality? How would you define it? And how is it used in training law enforcement officers?
Well, so InVeris Training Solutions, our legacy is Caswell and then Megit and then InVeris. But for over 35 years, they created the FAT system, which was the Firearms Training System, which was almost universally accepted across police departments across the country and the world, also used in the military as well. So virtual reality is really the evolution of training technology in this way. So what we've been able to do is using a head-mounted display, we create an entire digital world. So imagine standing in a regular 20 by 20, 40 by 40 conference room, putting on a headset and being transported to a call for service. So a police officer is showing up to maybe it's a home invasion, maybe it's an active shooter, maybe it's just a traffic stop. But we can create these scenarios and they're fully customizable on the user's end. So the instructors are able to build scenarios to teach the competencies they want taught right there in that moment, without actors, without simunition rounds, without having to find and scout locations to do practice reality-based training.
Okay. And by using these simulators, is it possible to train for de-escalation? And how is that done within the simulator?
So this is actually something that's really cool with the virtual reality. In the legacy simulators, it's always been video based. So you can yell and scream at a video all you want. It's not going to reply and it's not going to comply. It's not going to do what you say exactly. With virtual reality, it's completely different because it's responding real time, because the instructor is sitting off to the side observing everything and they're controlling the environment, they're controlling the suspect, and they're even voicing as the suspect. So the instructor is wearing a headset and is able to animate the character and talk back. So de-escalation is this buzzword of the last few years, but really and truly, I mean, it's evolved over time. It's been verbal judo, it's been just talk them down, it's been negotiation. We're talking about communication here. We are trying to establish the fundamentals of communication, officers being able to hear their suspect and reply and bring it to a peaceful or the least amount of force required to resolve the situation.
Okay. And what other critical elements are necessary for simulated training to be effective for agencies?
Well, one of the things that we think is really important is we're able to use these scenarios and create them on the fly. So if a police department is experiencing a problem where their officers are missing a fundamental step in, say, a traffic stop, maybe there was something in training a long time ago, maybe it just needs to be a refresher, they're able to go back and retrain these skills on the fly. But more importantly, and things that they may not have to do very often. So for example, an active shooter, that is a very, very critical moment, but we're able to do essentially mission rehearsal, if this makes any sense. So we're able to go and create the pathways so they're reaching the right decisions for when split seconds matter, because if you have rehearsed something before, it's easier to make that split second decision later because you've already thought about it. So that's one of the things we're trying to do with the simulator is say, hey, here are some pre-canned scenarios. Here are all these customizable scenarios and environments. Build them however you want. If you had a call from last night's shift that you want to recreate because maybe it didn't go so well, you can recreate that and start training everybody on the exact scenario that happened last night. And that's something that's really cool. It's never happened
Yeah.
before.
So what has the feedback been like from the new technology that you guys have introduced just recently? What has that been like when it comes to agencies?
Oh, it's growing. So virtual reality is really, we can't call it an emerging technology anymore, but for the law enforcement community, it really is. It's been in
Okay.
gaming industry for a long time, which is kind of a benefit because it's been sitting in gaming getting perfected. The graphics are getting better. We're now designing at photorealistic graphics. Uh, so it's been kind of percolating. And now, as younger officers are moving up through the ranks, they're adopting this technology and bringing it in, going, wow, this is way more realistic, way more effective. I'm watching veteran police officers who've been on the street for years and years get completely amped during the scenarios, and they feel real. We've even had scenarios where we've had to kind of reach out and grab them because they were about to run into a wall because they got that into it, which is exactly what we want. We want it to feel
Okay.
real.
And is there anything that we haven't talked about yet that you wanted to add?
I think we've pretty much covered all
Well,
of the
I
high
think we
points.
have. Yeah. And basically just wanted to thank you for joining us today. This was a great discussion. And just one more thing. What suggestions would you give agencies if they wanted to incorporate this type of training into their daily training regimen?
This training we've found is way more effective than the classroom learning and fits just in the vicinity of reality-based training. So we're seeing about a 60 to 80% retention rate on lessons learned in the simulator, where you're getting about 10% from the classroom. So this is something that you probably want to do progressively throughout the academy and throughout in service, where you're learning a lesson in the classroom, you're learning the strategies and tactics maybe in DT, and then you're applying it and bringing it all together in a more realistic way on the fly without the cumbersome of having to get the scenario locations and actors and etc. And you're not depending on your academy classmates to role play with you anymore. This is going to be a lot easier to incorporate as it moves along through the academy.
Okay. Well, I thank you so much for joining us today, Lauren. And take care and good luck to Embarrass and all your guys' future endeavors.
All right. Thank you very much.